big breaking news in the world of the Georgia Bulldogs and college football. ESPN is very popular. College Game Day is coming to Athens. It's going to be the first time since 2019, the Notre Dame night game for the Dogs, a tight win as big favorites that night over the Irish. That's the last time that Game Day was in Athens, and it will be in Athens again for the Arkansas game. Certainly really saying something for both schools. Arkansas coming into this game with basically having won the Southwestern Conference, beating Rice, Texas, and Texas A&M. And they are, a formidable challenge, a top 10 team coming to Athens. This is a game that will define the rest of the season for Georgia for sure. Now, Arkansas can recover from a game like this. Georgia can too, I guess, but with the Gators kind of looming out there playing pretty well, this is a game that Georgia's going to need to win. And they're playing about as well as anyone in the country. I don't think you can really make an argument that a lot of people are playing better than them. If you want to say that Alabama is, I'll listen to that argument. That's the other game that ESPN was looking at was Alabama Ole Miss. And this goes back to the whole thing where why do television networks do what they do? And as a student of that, I can tell you, years gone by, this game probably would not have been College Game Day. I mean, it's a noon game. It is a top 10 team, but Ole Miss and Alabama has certainly been a more marquee game, a game that's been played every year, unlike Georgia and Arkansas. But in the grand scheme of things, when you're Disney and you're ESPN and those guys, you don't want to promote someone else's product if you can help it. So yesterday, on Saturday in Nashville, I started writing this story assuming that it would happen. I kept checking and wondering, why have they not made an announcement? I didn't know it was certain that Georgia would get this, but I figured it was a pretty good chance just because, you can take Game Day and roll it right into the picks can go right into the game. I mean, they will own a 6-hour block, ESPN specifically, that will be, Georgia, Arkansas from 9 a.m. to about 3 p.m. ish, however long that takes. And Bama Ole Miss is a big game. It is a huge game for sure. That they're both top 11 or 10 teams, whatever it is. I don't know what Ole Miss is ranked off the top of my head. But if you're ESPN, you can run the numbers up really high and get the day going for your network. That's a very important thing for the bottom line for ESPN. I mean, you're going to want as many viewers as possible. And don't confuse yourself. Georgia is, it's Georgia. It's not in this order, but it's Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama. Those are the three draws on college television. And it's a huge game. You can dominate it from the start if you're ESPN. The question, I've got a few questions. I legit do not know the answer to this yet. Ole Miss is ranked number 12. I don't know where they're going to set up this time because in the recent past, and this may already be out there. I don't know. In the recent past, Georgia, when Game Day's been in Athens, it's been in Myers Quad, which is not that far from the stadium. I wonder this time if they're going to leave it there because the game is going to start at noon. Typically, all the time, Game Day makes their picks from about 11:52 to noon, and they just roll into the next game. That game is almost never an ESPN game on site. This past week at Soldier Field, they made their picks inside the stadium. So I think it's very possible that Game Day is at Myers Quad, but the picks with Corso and all those guys, they could be inside Sanford, okay? Now, I don't know where Kirk is going to be this week, but he almost always has the ABC late game. It's not been announced who's going to call this game. I would also not be stunned. I'd be a little surprised if that were Kirk Herbstreit's game and Chris Fowler's game and sort of the game of the week for Disney. They've got an ABC, I think a Big Ten game at night. I think that's where Herbstreit and them will go. But it is totally possible that Georgia could get the total royal treatment here from ESPN, which would be game day rolling right into their game, and then you get Herbstreit and Chris Fowler. I don't. They did. Last year Georgia Auburn, which was a top 10 game, that was also Herbstreit and Fowler, and so that's their number one crew. So right now you've got the primetime ABC game, which is almost always Kirk and Chris Fowler, and then you've got the late night ABC or the ESPN LSU Auburn game, which was a mistake. They should have put this game at night, but okay. And then you've got this game. This game will draw more than LSU Auburn just because of the circumstances, and game day really helps with that too. But if you're ESPN, I think you do have to wonder, where do we put our number one team? Georgia, Arkansas will go. I mean, what's happened in the world of television is that Fox has made a bet that they can win the noon hour all of the time, and so they've gone hard in with that, and it's been a smart play. But like this week, I doubt, but it's very possible that Michigan, Wisconsin could beat out Georgia, Arkansas, because Michigan is a huge brand name and Wisconsin's just coming off that Notre Dame game. But that's back-to-back games with Wisconsin. They got 2 losses. There's a lot of issues with that game if you're trying to talk about who will be better. Arkansas is not a big TV draw. Georgia is. Michigan is. So, and Fox is broadcast television. It's not ESPN. So there's definitely a difference there. And then you look at, the landscape of things. Where do you send Todd Blackledge and those guys? You got Indiana at Penn State. Well, Indiana's lost. So that's not an undefeated versus undefeated like Georgia, Arkansas. And then obviously Auburn, LSU. Auburn almost lost to Georgia State this week. So this Georgia, Arkansas certainly could be the biggest game of the weekend in terms of numbers. I think that it will be Alabama, Ole Miss. CBS is hard to beat. But at the end of the day, the curious thing for me to watch is, where do they put game day? Is it going to be in Myers Quad? I mean, would they really want the logistical nightmare that is putting it on the bridge? It's a different ballgame now. You can put it in the stadium and have the bridge as your background, and the guys can just turn around and make picks. That's totally possible. So that's the one thing. I'm not aware that they've announced where this is going to be yet. And if it's at Myers Quad, I will not be there. If it's on the bridge, I might be there. We'll see. But it's certainly an event. Whenever for people in the media, game day, it can be difficult to maneuver around, but it's a great thing for everyone else. The viewer at home, it's awesome for them. The fans, it is awesome for fans. And so overall, it's a great promotional tool for your school, your brand, all these things. And I fully expect Georgia to take advantage of it. But it was big breaking news today to see that Georgia and Arkansas will be ESPN's game day pick this week. We'll see you over on the website.